hotel rooms are not designed to contain such a highly infectious agent as Delta, for example, or even any other strain, quite frankly. You know, every case that has occurred after March last year when we had the lockdown has been directly or indirectly related to breaches around the program and mostly from hotels. So I think this is a great initiative. I'm interested to know that they've used 7 days, and I know that, for example, Delta being 50 to 60 times more infectious than the Wuhan, the original strain, does have a shorter incubation period. But I'm interested about 7 days because we think that quarantine usually goes for twice an average incubation period. And for Delta, it's about 5 days. So I would have thought maybe they'll trial 10 days to see if a week is safe in double-dosed vaccinated people, but I think it's a really good initiative.
Okay, just being provocative here, double-dose vaccinated people, why do they even need to quarantine at all?
Well, because sadly, even with double dosing, you can have infection. You may not go to hospital, you may not die, but you can carry infection because vaccines aren't 100% protection against infection. Certainly, they're up into the 90s for preventing hospitalization and death, but not infection. And interestingly, a lot of people who don't have that high level of protection against infection at around, it's about high 70s for Pfizer with Delta and 60-odd for AstraZeneca, can get silent infection or asymptomatic. So they can come into Australia and appear to be well, but in fact, their viral load is about 1,000 times higher than we've ever seen before with any other strain. So they're highly infectious. There was a Singapore study that showed that, in fact, if you've been double vaccinated, you do get rid of that viral load very fast, but you still can cause infection. So you still do need some sort of quarantine because you may be tested instant that you arrive, and I hope they're going to be doing that. But then, of course, you may have caught it on the way home. So you need to give yourself a couple of days at home, apart from getting over jet lag, making sure you haven't inadvertently brought anything with you. So I'm hoping that they'll use home kit testing to test every day so that you can work out how often you need to test them and how long they really need to be in quarantine. And I know that Victoria, I think it's South Australia and Tasmania are doing it for 14 days. So coming together as a group of states would be very helpful to identify exactly how long is the best time to keep double-dose people in quarantine at home.
A mobile phone app and random police checks will be used to monitor compliance. Is that the way forward too?
Well, you do have to ensure that people do stay at home because there's always somebody that won't stay at home. And it's usually the somebody that may have infection and they might want to go to the gym. They might need to, fill their fridge up with food after being away. So you do need to keep them at home. But the one way you could do it is a geolocator wristband to ensure that they can't take it off and that, when you first get home, you walk around the perimeter. They know where you should be so they can check on you. But of course, face recognition and your phone, random phone numbers, phone calls could assist, but I don't think they're quite as good as a geolocator wristband.
Today is the deadline for aged care workers to have at least received a first dose. Do you support that, and does it go far enough?
I do support that. In fact, I was supporting it before the government decided to mandate it, and that they made a very sensible decision because when you're caring for the elderly who are very vulnerable, you have to make sure that you're not inadvertently bringing in Delta while caring for several residents. You don't normally care for a single resident. And of course, you'd have to be perfect at wearing a mask, which no one ever is, because sometimes healthcare workers, very, very experienced healthcare workers, have acquired Delta. It's so infectious by inadvertently chatting to somebody, pulling their mask down. And these are very, very highly skilled practitioners. So you do have to make it mandatory for all care staff. In fact, I would make it mandatory for all staff because they're so connected socially. It's a shared home. And I would also mandate it for all of the residents unless there's a good medical reason, because it's a shared home again. And we have seen from New South Wales and Victoria just how incredibly infectious Delta is for the rest of the household. Often when the authorities talk about new cases every day and they say something's linked, they're often saying it's within the same household because it's so infectious.
The first shipment of Moderna arrives tonight, with another over the weekend too, totalling over 1 million doses. What role will that play in the rollout?
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm really pleased for Australians to get Moderna because it doesn't need ultra cold storage, which basically means that GPs can roll it out easily, pharmacy can roll it out. But given that we are really trying to get to 70% of all adults, which is not really enough, Patricia, that's only really 1 in 2 will be protected when we start opening up for the total population. We really do need Moderna in a vaccine bus sitting outside a supermarket, because that's where everybody needs to go, so that the young who have been placed at the back of the queue until August can actually get Moderna into themselves very fast. And they could be doing it for Pfizer as well. We really do need to help the young adults get the vaccine.